We'll call the regular city council meeting to order for March 20th, 2023. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Hoyt.
Here.
Councilmember Bernatz.
Here.
Councilmember Lean.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Porter.
Here.
All right, any changes to the agenda? Leah, Nick, Holly?
None.
Steve, none? All right, seeing no changes, I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We'll go motion by Katie, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to item 5A, which is our announcements, and we will have the introduction of new employees and swearing in of our police officer. Deanna.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, it's my honor to get to introduce two of our new employees. And so the first one I'll start with is I'm happy to introduce Corinne Hojanicki. Am I close? We've been practicing how to pronounce her last name. She is the city's communication coordinator, and Corinne has been with the city since February 9th. Prior to joining the city, Corinne worked for the city of Southgate and the city of Flat Rock, which are both in Michigan, doing communications focused in the recreation area. She has a bachelor's degree in communication technology and her master's degree in recreation administration. She's been able to hit the ground running here and has quickly proven to be an asset to the city. And I know I've had the opportunity to work with Corinne, and I've really appreciated her openness, and I'm super excited to see the things that we can do together. So, Corinne, do you want to come up and... Yeah. And the mayor will tell you, you always have to have something to say, so.
Well, I was unaware.
It's all right.
Just excited to start, well, I've already started, but be here. We moved to Minnesota in September, and I'm just obviously getting used to this weather. Not as bad as it was in Michigan where I was, so. I just really love working on websites, doing newsletters, and getting out the word about fun events and just communicating with the city and its residents, so.
Well, welcome, and
Thank
thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.
And the other person I have the pleasure of introducing is Jared Johnson. Jared is a familiar face here at City Hall. For over a year and a half, Jared provided planning and code enforcement services for us on a contract basis while working for WSB. But when we advertised the planning coordinator position at the end of last year, we were very happy that Jared applied. And so he started with the city full time on February 13th. So in his role, he works in my department. Jared will be the point person for the day-to-day planning questions. He'll assist Tony Whippler, who's our planning manager, with large-scale and long-term planning projects. He will be spearheading our code enforcement strategy that we actually kick off and start talking about this week. And he'll be engaged in a lot of different community development initiatives that are going to be coming from this department. Jared has his degree from UW River Falls in environmental planning with a minor in GIS, and his desire to become a full-time member of the Farmington team, I think, speaks volumes to the people and atmosphere that exist here. You know, he had an opportunity to work on a contract basis with us for a year and a half, and he wanted to be part of our team full-time, and I think that just says a lot. So, Jared, thanks for being here, and come on up.
Thank you, Deanna, for the introduction. Mayor, members of the council, it was nice to get to meet most of you at the employee event. I just want to reiterate kind of the second half of what Deanna said about just the culture here. Coming here doing contract work for about a year and a half, and just seeing the city and how the employees interact with each other was just awesome, and that's the driving force of why I'm here today. And I'm super excited just to do anything the city desires and just help out, do some great things here. So thanks so much for the introduction, and I'm ready to start working with you guys, so thank you.
Welcome aboard and welcome to the team, right? Thank you, sir.
That's what I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm here tonight to introduce and then administer the oath of office to Officer Champagne Eichenborg. Last fall, we initiated a hiring process to replace one of our retiring police officers. As most of you know, hiring for law enforcement positions has become something of a challenge lately. I'm pleased to report to you that the hiring process presented us with an opportunity to hire an amazing candidate, Champagne Eichenborg. She started work for us in early November of this past year. Quickly completed her field training and has been serving the residents and visitors on her own now for the last several months. Officer Eichenborg has a bachelor's degree in sociology and criminal justice from Winona State University. She comes to us with 3 years of experience as a correctional officer for the Minnesota Department of Corrections, and most recently 3 years of experience as a police officer for the city of Northfield. She held numerous assignments within those organizations to include Special Operations Response Team member, Use of Force instructor, Reserve Program Advisor, Pink Patch Coordinator, and Treatment Court Liaison Officer. She aspires to get back into the use of force instruction and has interests in pursuing assignments in the K-9 unit, investigations, and the Drug Task Force. She's always smiling and maintaining a positive attitude, and she raises her hand every time we ask for help with something. In short, she was an amazing hire. I'm gonna go off script for just a moment and point something out. She's so amazing that I noticed there's some of her former co-workers from Northfield have come to her swearing in here in Farmington. I think that speaks volumes to her character. At this time, I'll ask Officer Eichenborg to step forward and I will administer the oath of office. At the conclusion of the oath, her mother, Dawn Dela Cruz, will pin Officer Eichenborg's badge on her uniform. Copy for you, I'll step out here. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Champagne Eichenborg,
I, Champagne Eichenborg,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the state of Minnesota
and the state of Minnesota
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without mental reservation
without mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well
that I will well
and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties as police officer
duties as a police officer
upon which I am about to enter,
upon which I am about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. We'll call that good.
Give her a hug, Mom.
Oh, hang on, you don't get away that easy. Apparently you heard the rules from the
Yep.
previous,
Oh, I got one for him.
I like it.
got you,
I like it.
So, Toys for Your Town. I remember seeing you cowboy boots and jeans. I'm like, who's this guy? He's just zipping. All of a sudden, Cassie goes, that's our mayor. I'm like, okay. He came up and shook my hand. I'm like, this is my mayor. Okay, I like this town so far. I appreciate being here. I am very thankful that I made the switch. No disrespect to Northfield, but Farmington is a phenomenal city to work for. I didn't get the gentleman that was here previously, but he had talked about teamwork. And it speaks volumes for the city of Farmington and the word team and being united and coming together. All three of those are top notch here, and I'm very thankful to be here. and be a part of whatever the growing community that we have here and all the stuff that you guys are doing to advance and move with where we are in 2023 and progress. I'm all about it, so I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You'll give me just a moment to clear the arena here?
Absolutely.
You guys want to go ahead and step out and go right ahead? Or you can stay. I'm not kicking you out.
We lose the cake every time. All right. We'll move on to item 6 of the agenda, which is citizen comments. This time is reserved for citizen comments regarding non-agenda items. If there is anyone in attendance that would like to speak, this would be your time. All right. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, which is our consent agenda. We'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Holly.
Second.
Second by Nick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, moving on to new business. Item 12A is approve plans and specifications and authorize the advertisement for bids for the Aiken Road improvements. And John.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. On March 21st of last year, the council approved a professional services agreement for not only a memorandum of findings, which is similar to a feasibility report, but also for preparation of construction plans and bid documents for the 2022 Aiken Road improvements. The memorandum of findings was prepared mid-May of last year, as there were concerns with public safety having two major roadways, Aiken Road and Highway 3, closed down at the same time for construction. And because of funding concerns, because the scope and the cost of the project had escalated, the project at that time was postponed to 2023. Two major changes have been made to the project scope. One was we changed the funding to municipal state aid construction funds, which also meant that the plans and specifications had to adhere to those requirements and numbering systems and everything, which was not a major lift, but we also added reclamation and repaving of the trail on the east side to the project scope. And so that did involve some additional work and new plan sheets and whatnot. So plans and specs for the project have been prepared, consistent with the memorandum of findings and the two scope changes I mentioned. If approved this evening, we would expect bids to be open April 19th, and a recommendation for contract award would be available for you to consider on May 1st. The estimated cost of construction, including a 10% contingency, is $2,404,500, and all of the construction costs, including the trail work, is eligible for state aid funding. We anticipate that the project will use a combination of street maintenance funds and state aid funding. Once we have the actual contract amount, we'll bring that specific split to you for your consideration. So the requested action is approval of the plans and specifications and authorizing the advertisement for bids for the Aiken Road improvements. I did not attach the plans and specifications. They run to about, I don't know, 200 or 300 pages or sheets, so I did not include those in the packet.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, Katie?
I have none. Thank you, John.
Steve?
I have a couple. John, I really do appreciate the fact that you looked into the MSA funding option, because I think this is going to be obviously, what type of positive impact will this have on our direct bonding that we are going to do to tap into the MSA dollars?
Mayor and council members, so we're allocated construction funds through our municipal state aid account. Cities in the state of Minnesota over a population of 5,000 get state aid funding. Usually about 15% of that goes toward maintenance, which we're allowed to do without documentation. The remainder goes to construction. So this means that we've probably, I haven't checked recently, we could probably cover this whole amount through our state aid construction account because they do sometimes allow you to borrow forward. But it means that we're gonna save all the bonding costs that we would have had we had to incur debt for this, we would have had to pay those bonding costs and interest rates.
Yeah, that's huge. So I use the trail on the east side quite a bit, so are we just talking about kind of reconstructing the trail, improving all the, you know, the inconsistencies and all that kind of stuff? And is that gonna include the little bridge that goes over there as well? Right just north of 208th? There's a
Mayor and
very
council
small
members,
bridge over the creek over there.
if the bridge, we're not affecting the bridge at all. What we're going to do is we're gonna take the bituminous trail and we're gonna mix that up with the base, use that for a base, and then we're gonna put a new layer of asphalt over the top. It'll be 10 feet wide, and we will do all the ADA improvements though at the intersection. So we'll have pedestrian ramps and concrete sidewalk right at the ramps where the trails meet the roads.
Okay. The only other question I can think of is, of course, there's so many different factors, the weather, availability of supplies, all kinds of stuff. What would you anticipate the start date to be, and what is our hopeful completion date?
The start date, we indicated in the contract documents that they couldn't start or close the roadway until after school is out.
Okay.
So mid-June, and the completion date, and I'm sorry I didn't have it in here, I believe that was September 30th.
Okay.
So we're not pushing to the end of the fall season. We had substantial, I believe, before school opened with a final, meaning turf restoration and whatnot, after school is open for the open for the year.
Great, thank you.
Holly?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I know I was one of the ones that I think pushed for some of the ADA stuff, just knowing how difficult some of those crosswalks or lack of crosswalks can be on some of those banks that just kind of dropped down. So I really appreciate that they went back and reviewed the trail. So that's all out of me though.
In terms of the disruption through that period of time with construction, is it going to be, I guess with, you know, Aiken Circle, Dyer's Pass, for example, the two that don't have another out, will it be limited access for those residents and otherwise closed, or is this like a west side, then east side type deal where there will still be some traffic allowed through?
Yeah, Mayor, we don't have the phasing yet. That's one of the first things we typically request of the contractor, but they do have to maintain access to all properties during construction.
Right.
We would anticipate that it's gonna be done in phases, whether it's north and south, or that's probably more expected than east to west. Now, they could do all the reclamation and then just put it back down, and that's a drivable surface. So they may do all the reclamation at once, and that you could still drive on, but the actual work, and we've got a little bit of storm sewer, that'll probably be taken in sections. But once we have that detailed plan, we'll get that out on the website and communicate it to the residents.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. With that, we look for motion to approve the plans and specifications and authorize the advertisement for bids for the Aiken Road improvements.
Motion?
Motion by Katie,
Second.
second by Nick. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Burnett.
Yes.
Councilmember Lean.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Porter.
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Item 12B under new business is approve Emerald Ash Borer plan. And John, you're still there.
Mayor and council members, as you will recall, because it was very recent at the last city council meeting, we provided 3 scenarios for dealing with our emerald ash borer challenge. The pros and cons of each approach were discussed, as well as the primary driver, which is public safety. And city staff was directed to prepare a general assessment of EAB along walkways and paths, because there are some concern expressed about, well, if we have 3,400 boulevard type trees, how many more could we expect to have to deal with? And we were also directed to come back with a more aggressive EAB plan, which also prioritizes public safety. And I would mention that once the general approach is decided, there's many moving parts to this. The first is a communication plan. Whatever is decided, how are we going to communicate that to the residents in the neighborhoods, the procurement, and it's not something that's going to be done by 1 or 2 staff. We'll probably have a small group working on these things. But all those details will come after a decision is made on kind of the big approach. Per council direction, we did prepare a scenario 4 that is aggressive and keeps public safety as a focus. While it's unclear how many trees exactly are within public ownership, we estimated a total number of ash trees to be removed at about 4,200. So we went from 3,400 to 4,200. Staff does recommend continuing treatments as a management tool, basically to keep the trees in a safe condition until we can actually get them removed. There is an immediate need this year to remove trees that are infested in the boulevards, parks, and along trail corridors. And we estimate this is a removal of up to about 200 trees. Beginning winter of 2024, the city would remove on average 800 trees per year for the next 5 years. And I would say that that is very aggressive. Some other communities, I believe Egan is doing 300 trees per year. And they've been doing that for a number of years. So they're in, I don't know, year 10 or whatever it is. Removals will happen in winter months to avoid damage to city roads and to ensure compliance with federal protection of the northern long-eared bat. During recent field visits, the pest infestation appeared to be consistent in parks. Now this is when Ed went out and took a look at the trails and the walkways and whatnot. And there were 2 exceptions to that. One was Jim Bell Park Preserve and the other being Pine Knoll Park. The trail corridor in Jim Bell had the highest concentration of heavily infested trees, which will be part of the priority hazard mitigation we're recommending for this year. And monitoring by city staff will be instrumental in identifying infested ash to prioritize in future years. The city is transitioning from generally infested to heavily infested. The pest population is coming to a peak and will soon affect most ash trees regardless of location. As a matter of information, Ed recently attended the Shade Tree Short Course, and he engaged with staff from surrounding communities and attending sessions focusing on EAB. And I'm thinking some of these people won't answer their phone if they see your number come up anymore, because he has been grilling other communities about what they're doing, how they're approaching it, what techniques they're using. But he did confirm our sense of urgency that we are behind in managing the pest, because most communities have been actively removing or treating since the discovery of the pest many years ago. For our cost estimate, we laid out 2023 through 2028. The total estimated cost is $4.4 million. That includes about $200,000 in treatment costs and $4.2 million in tree removals. We did assume a smaller reduced cost per tree for removals, because in the park areas, we can drop the trees and, chip them in place and leave them laying by the side, so it's less costly than actually grinding out a stump and working in the city right away. And the brush can be left in place, but as I mentioned before, 800 trees a year is very aggressive. And for the 2023 cost of $300,000, we're suggesting solid waste fund balance be used, and that we come back to you with a funding approach for 2024 through 2028. But I would stress that we really are looking for some direction on this. We need to start doing something in a positive manner to address this pest and be aggressive about it for our public safety.
Thank you, sir. Nick?
You want me to go first?
You can lead it.
Like I said, I really appreciate how thorough you guys are being about this. We've had a number of or at least one conversation about this, and I think you guys have a very sound approach, and we have a common kind of understanding of what the approach should be. So, like I said, I appreciate the most that you guys weren't afraid to bring this up to us and show us that there is a painful truth coming. And like I said, your recommendation for a cut and treat the rest seems the most sound in my mind as far as mitigating both public safety and keeping the cost from being unnecessarily high. So I appreciate the hard work on this one.
Holly?
Yeah, this is one of those situations that nobody asks for, right? It's sad in all the ways that it can be sad because we're losing, beautiful shade trees to a pest that we didn't, ask to have invade that species. The reality is, though, it's here, and we can't continue to turn a blind eye to it. So to echo Nick's comments, I'm grateful that you brought it up, that you told us really the extent of damage that's already occurred. Because while I guess I knew kind of in the back of my head, being someone who spends a lot of time, in our parks and trails system, that, wow, it looks like we have a fair amount of dead trees around here. I can't tell you that I knew necessarily what the reason for that was. And while I, might not be the best arborist in the world, when you see that, you do kind of wonder. This is not going to be a fun process, no matter how we do it. But the fact of the matter is that we have to do something. Our public safety is the most important thing, and there isn't an opportunity. By my understanding, there's not an opportunity to save these trees, no matter what happens. These are trees that are going to die, and when they die, the other thing that I learned through the information that you shared is that they're dangerous trees when they die. And so I appreciate you imparting that knowledge, as hard as it is to hear. And I'm grateful to know, really what it's going to take in order to resolve this in its full capacity. And we're going to have to work on the plan to figure that out.
Thank you. Katie?
Yeah, I would echo the sentiments of Holly. This was one of those that I read, and I, to be honest, got a little misty-eyed because, when we bought our home, one of the older neighborhoods of Farmington, one of the biggest things that drew us there was the mature trees. And we've since had to have one of our boulevard trees removed. And unfortunately, as sad as that is, we miss the aesthetics of that. It did become it posed a risk. We had kids, our kids and neighbor kids out playing during rain. I mean, you remember being a kid, you'd go out during the storm, right? And we had a large branch that did come down, and it could have fallen on the kids. And so that risk is very real. The loss of aesthetics and loss of just plant life is very real, and it's discouraging. But I like scenario 4. I think that we do have to, I mean, we're too late to get ahead of the 8 ball here, right? But we have to be aggressive, and I'll just continue to point out the positives of, I love that Ed brought up the tree sale. We can really hopefully make that a really fun experience for residents here. I will certainly be there. I think that sounds very exciting. And yeah, we don't really, our hands are kind of tied on this one. So, but thank you for all of your hard work, both of you.
Steve?
Yeah, so, really a big thank you to you, John, and really to Ed, who's not on camera, but Ed, you poured in a ton of work. A ton of work. And quite frankly, I think the public should know this too. We didn't have an arborist on staff like you to be able to go to with a variety of natural resource issues and these kind of things. So, having you on staff with us is really awesome. So, I know that we talked a little bit about this at the Community Expo, and you were kind of like, well, is this I'm just meeting this council member for the first time. Do I break it to him that I'm going to be asking him to spend a lot of money? But, you had a really good, albeit sad story to tell about this. And so I appreciate the work. The one request I have, and I did bring this to Lynn, John, is we really, 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 really need to communicate this to residents, because they're going to start seeing trees go down. We've got a couple residents here that have joined us tonight, but they're going to see trees going down. They're probably going to understand why, but whatever kind of communication plan we come out with, I think that part's going to be really important too, because losing 4,000 plus trees in the community is going to be very noticeable, and they're going to wonder if the city is just looking to chop down trees, but of course no, we have a very good reason for doing so.
Go ahead, Ed.
Mayor, council members, I appreciate you embracing this open arms, you know, I guess you have to, but, and listen to what I have to say. I am hopeful for the future, and just know I am looking to every available resource possible to manage this. And, you know, with treatments, I think we can slow this down to where it's not such a shock. But I think this will be an evolving process, and I'm trying really hard to make this a full package, you know, deal. You know, there's communication, there's the reforestation component, there's the community engagement. I mean, this is gonna be a big process, so just know I have a deep passion for this, and I think, you know, hopefully we can, it's tough now, but 20, 30, 40 years down the road, hopefully we'll have some new trees and a more resilient urban forest. So Mayor, Council, I appreciate you listening to me at the work session and considering this.
And I would also, sorry, Mayor, I would also encourage you to incorporate specifically the educational portion of your slideshow, just because even those of us that have been in Farmington for many years, who are aware of the EAB, I wasn't necessarily aware of the spread or how, you know, the phases that it goes through. And so that piece of education, I think, is really important for residents to understand.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, communication obviously being a pillar of, you know, our council priorities and what we try to achieve every day. How it was presented and a general understanding for, you know, the average person who doesn't know, including myself, right? The limits that Emerald Ash Borer has put on the industry and the constraint it's put on the municipalities. And while we could kick this can down the road, like maybe a lot of other cities are or aren't even aware that they have this big of an issue, the cost only goes up. And as we know with the zone, as it was identified on the map as being that red zone where the trees have to stay within that, that's gonna get really difficult from an operational and logistics standpoint in years to come. When all of a sudden 3, 4, 5 other metro area cities decide, yep, we're gonna start, you know, falling 1,500 trees a year, there's gonna be a contractor problem, there's gonna be a sourcing issue, there's gonna be a relocating issue, and it only is gonna drive the cost up. So, you know, to Nick's point, thank you for coming forward, for bringing it forward and being very truthful with it about the severity of what is, the hard challenge that we have in front of us, and it's gonna have to get taken care of, and it might as well be on the forefront and, you know, be a leading community rather than a tag along and overpaying as usual. So
Right.
we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Without any further discussion, then we would look for a motion to approve the Emerald Ash Borer Plan.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Nick, second by Steve. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Lean.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Porter.
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt.
Yes,
Councilmember Burnett.
Yes.
thank you. Are you taking the next one then too?
Yes, sir.
All right. New business 12C is approved contract for Emerald Ash Borer Tree Injection Services.
Mayor and council members, our plan did assume that we'd be moving forward with this, but we understood the need to have that big picture before you acted on this specific contract. We did go out for quotes for tree injection, and we have worked with this contractor before, Rainbow Tree Care, and our recommendation is to approve a contract with Rainbow Tree Care for the injection services and authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute same. And I would mention that this contract applies to the trees that we included in this original RFP. We really can't take a price that we have here and say, okay, we want to multiply our contract by 3 or 4. That wouldn't be fair to the contractor necessarily, or it wouldn't be fair to those who may have bid on the project had they known this full scope. So this is this applies to this contract and we want to get started on this right away. You know, get the ball rolling, as I mentioned before.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? No?
The only comment that I have actually is just communication for the homeowner program of this too, that there is a component of it that allows individuals within the community who have ash trees on their own property to utilize rainbow tree care and be able to take advantage of it from a homeowner standpoint. Is that right?
That's correct, Mayor and council members. We put that information out there, and I think Rainbow also puts an effort forward to educate the property owners and make sure that they're available. If they're injecting a tree in the boulevard, they can also inject a tree on private property. They would pay them directly though for that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Look for a motion to approve a contract with Rainbow Tree Care for the Emerald Ash Borer tree injection services and authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute the same.
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Holly, second by Katie. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Porter.
Yes.
Mayor Hoyt.
Yes.
Councilmember Burnett.
Yes.
Councilmember Lean.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ed. All right, we'll move on to City Council Roundtable.
I'm not going first today.
All right, Leah,
Start there.
Leah gets to start then.
Okay, great. Thank you. My item is about number 14A. Due to illness, we're not going to have the closed session. We won't have to do any motion or anything like that. The cure is just to notice the closed session for whenever it gets rescheduled too. So that's all.
Thank you. Right now, you're second.
We wish Lynn the best in her speedy recovery from her temporary illness, and I guess that's about all I got today.
Thank you. Holly?
Come up with something there.
It's the first day of spring today. Happens sometime this afternoon. You will not say Mother Nature always wins. Even if she does. No, you know what, I don't have anything. I'm just looking forward to warmer temperatures whenever they do arrive. And I'm excited for what spring and summer holds for Farmington and its community and its residents. And it's going to be a good year. Good spring, summer year.
Yes, ma'am. Katie?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just me, but there was an energy here with everybody walking in with spring and daylight saving. We have a little bit more daytime, right? Everybody just seemed a little more productive. So I'm gonna just remain hopeful on that. Spring sports, summer sports, all the things coming up. Look out for each other. You know, we're a great community, and I wish that Champaign wouldn't have left so soon because I was gonna have her come do my roundtable because she clearly has that portion down. So I guess I'll know who to call on. But again, congratulations to her. Welcome to Jared and Corinne. Okay, perfect. I was like, I'm gonna say this wrong, but we're always glad to have new members on board, and like everybody spoke to, the teamwork, and if I wasn't sitting here, I'd be sitting there if I could. So thank you guys all for what you do, and yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for pointing it out, Katie. This is my first productive day of the year, so I appreciate you
It's
pointing
one
it
of
out.
mine, so let's just be real.
I want to thank Deanna for a really well-organized economic development meeting before. I thought that was really good. And then I did go to the last coffee with the seniors at the Rambling River Center. I had such a great time. And honestly, given that I'm the only one up here that has the privilege of being 50 and over, I said, you know what, I'm going to join. So I did.
Yes.
Nice.
So that's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Kelly?
Parks and Recreation is currently hiring seasonal positions for the summer, summer maintenance, ages 18 years and older, and then recreation positions, ages 16 years and older. Visit the city's website at www.farmington.mn.gov to apply.
Thank you, ma'am. Chris?
I too am looking forward to warmer weather. I'm pretty much tired of winter, so I'm looking forward to that. And with warmer weather comes our audit, and that's about 2 weeks away. We're slowly working our way towards that, so that's it.
With warmer weather comes our audit. I love that. Chief?
Yeah, just a couple of things real quick. In addition to Officer Eichenborg, who is not shy whatsoever, as you very much just noticed, We've got a couple other personnel additions that you're going to see in the coming weeks and months. Officer Kyle Miller is going to be here for a swearing in sooner rather than later. And on tonight's consent agenda, you authorize the appointment of Jason Witt, currently with the Rice County Sheriff's Office. He's coming here. I'm beyond excited about the these three hires. It's just absolutely amazing. And then the other thing I wanted to point out was also on the consent agenda was the work of Deputy Chief Constantino securing $17,000 worth of automatic external defibrillators through a grant for us. That's going to put AEDs in all of our city buildings in addition to the ones that police and fire carry around in their vehicles with them. So thank you, Deputy Chief.
His medal will be on the next agenda, right?
Yeah, Jimmy, you're not allowed to retire, just FYI. You either, Gary.
All right. Thank you, sir. Deanna?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple things. Tonight, you authorized the contract that goes with our comprehensive plan and community vision. So we're going to be kicking that off, and that will be a really exciting effort and initiative for this community. And so I'm excited to get that one going. It's going to be very informative and foundational for what we do moving forward. And then today at the EDA meeting, we also talked about a microgrant program. So I just wanted to mention that as a little teaser for our businesses within the Farmington proper, that we are going to be bringing forward a microgrant program with the idea of meeting businesses where they are at and assisting our small businesses. So that'll be a great tool that we have. We'll be doing a lot of communication around it, and we don't have a launch date yet, but we'll make sure that the community is aware, the business community. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. John?
Mayor and council members, based on your actions this evening, you can guess what we'll be working on in the near future. Aiken Road improvements and EAB control, the whole plan that goes along with that. We also, if you're looking at the website for Parks and Recreation seasonals, we'll have Public Works seasonals posted in the near future, same location. We are already planning for the summer construction season, and specifically how we're going to cover the completion of Spruce Street and administer that construction contract along with all the development activity. And then finally, we have GIS specialist interviews coming up in a week or so, so we're very excited to keep moving forward with that process.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Chief, you got anything? No? All right. So I don't know how I talk about some of this without mentioning the weather, because it all ties in, but I won't say what I typically say. No, we're going to have some constraints this spring. You know, even looking at the 6-week forecast into the first week of May, you know, the daytime highs are getting up there, but the overnight lows are going to stay mid-30s. So, you know, your road restrictions might get a little bit delayed, which is going to inevitably delay some of the spring projects. You know, your trails are going to, and off trail is going to be a little soupy, a little bit longer. It's just side effect of the weather and what we're dealing with. Congratulations and welcome aboard to Champagne, Corinne, and Jared. Again, there's that constant theme that you hear, and that's team, and it's the culture and the atmosphere that is the organization and the team at the City of Farmington. And that's something that we work hard on every single day. And it's more validation that we're doing the right things. We're building on the foundation that is most important to the future of the community. And I wish more people could see that, and wish more people showed up to our meetings and were more involved. But you know, that's part of our effort to continue to push on that and be better. So I just look forward to everything that's coming yet this year. So with that, we would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Katie, second by Holly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 7:44.